Okay, let's take a look at inline CSS. So from the last video, I just cleaned up this HTML a little bit, got rid of that old CSS. And when I refresh my page, it's a standard HTML page. Literally nothing on it. It is as plain as it gets. So let's go ahead and create an H1 element. So I type H1 and then tab in VS Code, and it creates an H1 element for me. And then I can say style is equal to, and then we can put some sort of element or a property or declaration in here. And we can see there's all sorts of stuff to choose from. This is all CSS, by the way, all of this. We're not going to learn all of this because that's going to take forever to learn, but we're going to learn the most commonly used things that will get you 90% there on pretty much every single website. So I'm going to avoid putting in a style just for now and say this is an H1. And I'm going to copy this down and create another H1. Again, I'm going to give this a blank style attribute. It's not doing anything at this point. This is another H1. And so when I refresh the page, we see an H1 and another H1. Nothing is different from HTML. However, in this style attribute, we can now say something like font size is equal to 10 pixels. We'll talk about font size in its own particular lesson, but I just want to show you that this is how we can write some inline CSS. So I go ahead and refresh this, and you can see that this is still an H1, and if I right click and inspect, in here, it's still an H1. However, it differs from this one. This is a base style H1, this one is an H1, but we gave it a font size of 10. Now we could also change other things, like let's change the color of the second H1. Let's say the color has to be blue. And remember, I'm writing a declaration here. So I write the property name, colon, space, value, semicolon. And I can save that, go back here, refresh my page, and now it's blue. And we can merge these together if we wanted to. It doesn't have to be just one change at a time. If we wanted to add multiple styles or multiple CSS declarations, we can do a semicolon, because that semicolon tells the computer, oh, this is the end of this declaration. Look for another one. So we can say font size is equal to 20 pixels. And even though I don't have a space here, that would work, but I like adding a space, and it just looks a lot nicer when you're writing massive amounts of CSS. So let's go ahead and save that, flip back to our browser, refresh, and we're going to see that this is going to be a little bit smaller, not quite as small as the first H1, but a little bit smaller, just like that, and it's still blue. And with my inspect tool open, and again, all I did there was right-click inspect, went to elements, select my H1 that I want to edit, and over here we can see we've got color. We can toggle this on and off. We can change this to, we can click blue and change this to red. And we can change the font size. And so we can toggle all of it off. This is what it looks like by default. We can toggle it back on, and this is what it looks like after our CSS. So effectively, we have written inline CSS. Now, this is a good way to get started, but it is not a best practice. So just keep that in mind. We are going to break this rule throughout this course, and that's totally okay. But in the wild, when you're writing real production style code, you're probably not going to use this too often.